The US government obtained a warrant to seize a Boeing aircraft owned by Russian oil company Rosneft. Igor Sechin, Rosneft's chief executive officer, is a long-standing ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The seizure was authorized based on violations of export controls and sanctions against Russia. The Boeing aircraft is valued at over $25 million. According to the Justice Department, the aircraft has left and re-entered Russia at least 7 times since the sanctions were put into effect. US intelligence chiefs claims China is deepening its cooperation with Russia to try to challenge the United States. Speaking at the Senate hearing, the US spy chiefs said that they see China providing assistance to Russia. Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, also said Chinese President Xi Jinping views the US as an adversary in achieving his regional objectives. The hearing also coincided with the release of the intelligence agency's annual Global Threat Assessment report. Pakistani police fired tear gas shells and used batons on supporters of former Prime Minister Imran Khan in clashes. The clashes erupted in the eastern city of Lahore ahead of a planned rally by Imran Khan. Provincial Information Minister said supporters attacked the police when they were ordered to disperse. Minister said at least 7 police officials were injured and 12 Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf members had been arrested. Imran Khan was supposed to kickstart his election campaign but later called it off. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has arrived at the country's anti-graft agency. This is after the PM faced allegations of abuse in stimulus programs launched under his premiership. Muhyiddin, who was Prime Minister for 17 months between 2020 and 2021, has denied the accusations and has described the allegations as political vendetta. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim ordered a review of government projects worth billions of dollars, which were approved by Muhyiddin. Fiji's former Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama has been charged with abuse of office. The former Prime Minister has led the Pacific Island nation for 16 years until narrowly losing an election in December. He has been seen walking into the Fiji Police Force Criminal Investigations Department headquarters. Fiji's Director of Public Prosecutions, Christopher Pride, has sanctioned charges of abuse of office against him. The charges relate to a complaint by the University of South Pacific in 2019. Chinese leader Xi Jinping has called for the armed forces to quickly elevate to world-class standards. This is after he warned that the country was threatened by a US-led campaign of containment, encirclement and suppression of China. The leader added that China must maximize its national strategic capabilities in a bid to systematically upgrade the country's overall strength to cope with strategic risks. He has also made remarks to delegates in the ceremonial parliament representing the People's Liberation Army. A Nigerian court on Wednesday rejected a plea to stop the electoral body from reconfiguring the voting system. Nigerians will return to polling booths on Saturday to elect state government. This is 2 weeks after Bola Tinubu, the ruling party candidate, won the presidential elections last month. Peter Obi, who lost the presidential elections, filed a request stating to stop the reconfiguring of the voting system. He claimed that it would destroy evidence for his case that the presidential election results were fraudulent. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese attended the 4th and final cricket test match between the two nations in Indian state of Ahmedabad. The two leaders greeted cricketers on the pitch, including the captains of both the teams. The 4-day visit by Albanese, the first by an Australian Prime Minister since 2017, comes days ahead of a visit by Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. India needed to win the match to join Australia in the final of the World Test Championship at the Oval in June. Japan's lower house of parliament has approved the government's nominees for next central bank governor and deputy governors. It has signed off on a new leadership that will be tasked with steering a smooth exit from ultra-loose monetary policy. Government nominee Kazuo Ueda will officially succeed incumbent Board governor Haruhiko Kuroda as the approval takes place. Ueda will chair his first policy meeting on April 27-28, when the board will produce closely watched fresh quarterly growth and price forecasts extending through fiscal year 2025. At least 5 women have been detained for protesting in Istanbul, protesting for the victims of Turkey's deadly earthquake. The women chanted and held up signs that said, "Organize your anger." At least a dozen police surrounded the women, who are a part of a group called Socialist Women's Movement. Slow governmental response has enraged people, as over 52,000 people died in the quakes and the remaining victims are still waiting for aid. At least 3 Los Angeles police officers have been shot by a gunman. The suspect was barricaded inside a garage with an ongoing tactical scene unfolding. Reports say the officers were shot as a part of a canine unit and were seeking a suspect when they took fire. Several police cars have sealed off the area around the garage in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood. Officers in full tactical gear have reached the site where the suspected gunman is cornered. Reports say police has ordered residents to stay indoors and come out only when the situation is diffused. Women hit the streets spanning from Kabul to Mexico City to mark International Women's Day. People stood up for the rights that are coming under increasing attack. Protesters are fueled by a sense that hard-won progress is being turned back with Iran's repression of the Mahsa Amini protests, new US restrictions on abortion rights and the Ukraine war. Thousands have raised their voices and marched through cities across the world. Some were forced to keep a low profile as authorities sought to block the demonstrations. A security guard and a suspect died in a shootout at the international airport in Santiago. The shootout is a result of assailants trying to steal $32 million. Officials say the robbery was spotted by security personnel from different police organizations working at the airport. The attempted robbery occurred in the morning when a group of about 10 people entered the terminal, while assaulting a guard and stealing his weapon. The money that the group wanted to steal had arrived aboard a LATAM Airlines plane flying from Miami. Over 200,000 people have been admitted to hospitals due to air pollution in Thailand. The Thai capital, which is home to at least 11 million people, has been blanketed by an unpleasant yellow-grey mix of vehicle fumes, industrial emissions and smoke from agricultural burning. Over 1.3 million people have fallen sick in the kingdom since the start of the year. Doctors have urged children and pregnant women to stay indoors now and advised that anyone going outside should wear a high-quality N95 anti-pollution mask. At least 21 people have died in a landslide which crashed onto a village in Indonesia's remote Natuna Islands. The landslide, which was triggered by torrential downpours, had buried 30 houses in Genting village on a remote island surrounded by choppy waters. Authorities have deployed more than 200 rescuers from the Search and Rescue Agency. National Disaster Management Agency Chief Soharyanto says 8 people have been pulled out alive with injuries, 3 of whom are in critical condition. After a blizzard swept through Southern California, local residents are finding themselves shut inside their homes. In a once-a-generation weather event, enormous amounts of snow fell in the San Bernardino and San Gabriel mountain range. The areas are popular destinations for hikers and skiers. However, as the state continued to dig out from the previous storms, another one was on the way. Authorities say creeks, streams and rivers could rise quickly, raising the threat of flooding now. Indians celebrated the Sikh festival of Hola Mohalla in the northern Punjab state. It is an annual spring festival featuring sword fights and martial arts. The festival commemorates the transformation of Sikh community into a martial fraternity by Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru of the Sikhs. Devotees also offered prayers at the Golden Temple in Anandpur Sahib before enjoying the displays of horse riding and martial arts by traditionally dressed Sikh men. Sikhs make up about 2% of Hindu-majority India's population. Thousands of women marched through the streets of Latin American capitals to mark International Women's Day. They denounced violence against women, femicides, gender pay gap and racial discrimination. Uruguayan demonstrators carried signs denouncing oppression and hunger and demanded respect. In inflation-hit Venezuela, women marched to demand better salaries. Indigenous women marched in the Peruvian capital of Lima to demand end of racial discrimination. In Rio de Janeiro, women gathered to chant and play music. The current crew at NASA's space station bid farewell from their post as they prepare to return to Earth after a 5-month science mission. The SpaceX Crew Dragon team includes a Russian cosmonaut, the first Russian aboard an American spacecraft in 20 years, and the first Native American woman to be sent to Earth's orbit. The other crew members were 2 American NASA astronauts as well as Japanese astronaut. The inclusion of the Russian astronaut was seen as a sign of continued US-Russian cooperation in space, despite escalating tensions between Moscow and Washington over the war in Ukraine.
On the launch pad at 39. And the only reason we were able to do that was through the efforts of thousands of people. Our trainers in Houston, our trainers around the globe, the operational teams around the globe, and